120 words per minute. Start. Friends and fellow citizens, I note with pleasure that the activities of this conference are not confined entirely to matters connected with the international law. I see that the agenda includes one item of special interest to me, namely some features of the Indian Constitution and another of considerable importance to municipal law, generally, namely organization of courts and the legal profession. How I wish that you had taken for discussion two other subjects of no less importance, namely the organization and the functioning of legislatures. These last two subjects are of special significance in the present context because of the ever widening activities of the modern welfare state, and though the two subjects are closely related to each other, the functions performed by a judge and a legislature are mutually exclusive, for there is only one condition on which a man can do justice to two litigants, namely he shall have no interest in common with either of them. In the case of a legislature, however, it is only by having every interest in common with both of them that he can govern them well. The essential preliminary to democracy is the representation of every interest. That to justice is the elimination of every interest. The law-making body is an entrancing subject of study, and I hope you will permit to delight upon it a little. It is generally supposed that people understand their own interests better than others, and therefore persons elected by them will represent their interests and will make laws and run the administration so as to serve them best. In the modern age, indeed in any age, it cannot be denied that there are conflicts of interest between individuals, but it is the duty of the legislatures to resolve them and to see that the ultimate good of the people is served, so that all may feel happy and contented. A real difficulty arises in regard to the concept of happiness itself, some treating it is no more than the satisfaction of material needs, present or future, others looking beyond the material requirements to something which they consider to be higher and nobler in life. It is generally regarded, and I think rightly, that the rule of law should prevail in the societies which claim to be civilized. It is all the more necessary, therefore, that the law should be such as to command obedience, not because of the state's coercive force behind it, but also because it has moral value. That which proceeds from the voice of the people is not necessarily the better thing, because the voice of the people is not always the voice of God. Something has therefore to be done to ensure the quality of the men who frame the laws, so that the quality of the laws themselves may be assured. What is true in the case of a state and its laws is true also perhaps to a greater degree of the law of nations, which has no sanction except that of the intrinsic value which the law has. International law has, however, this advantage over the law of any state, namely that it has been evolved by jurists and adopted by states. It is not a body of legislative enactments which have been enforced and are enforced by the sanction of the state. It is accepted by nations on its own merits, and as such has a great deal of moral authority behind it. Some of the interpretation and proposals of the international law association have been adopted by the United Nations, and let me hope that as it advances more and more, weight will be attached to proposals made by persons.